wide receivers. We have T. Higgins again. We just talked about him last week at Kansas City. And we have Pickens, Mr. Dave Slayer himself, Pickens at Seattle, wide receiver 28 on the season. Do you want me to go first this time? Because I've been putting
Sure.
you on the spot. All right. So Pickens had a massive game. I'll just say it. 4 catches, 195, 2 touchdowns last week. It really helped me. It really helped me beat Dave. That's why he's not here right now. He's not speaking to me. Um, he crushed it. But other than that, what has he done all season? 6 games out of 15, he's had double digit. Those double digits aren't even special. I'm talking about 11, 10, 12.2. He doesn't really get a ton of volume. He's not a high volume player. Again, last week, 4 catches, 195, 2 touchdowns. What if he doesn't get those? What if he doesn't score the touchdowns? What if he doesn't get busted coverage or whatever, or make those like electric plays? Then he's nothing. He's just like every other week. Um, he's only had 1 game this year with 6 or more catches. One, one, and you're supposed to be the wide receiver 1 or 1-ish on your team. That's not going to get it done. Again, Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and that clown show, Trubisky, that's part of the problem. I get it. I went back and looked at Seattle's matchups against the wide receivers. Last week, Tennessee, I just wrote ha ha because they don't have a passing game. Week 15, they played Philadelphia. A.J. Brown had 5 for 56. Devontae Smith had 5 for 50. That team is struggling right now. Week 14 against the Cowboys, CD went for 12 for 116 and a touchdown. Cooks 4 for 45 touchdown. Week 13, Debo 7 for 79. IU 2 for 50. I did that because I want to see if they're giving up big plays. They're not giving up big plays unless your name is CD Lamb. Other than that, and I think that George Pickens is a little bit less of a player than CD. I'm just gonna say a little bit. I don't want the George Pickens mob coming after me. I don't want anyone yelling at me, calling me bad names in the comments, but he's just not CD Lamb. I think we can all agree on that. I think Pickens gets shut down against Seattle. I don't know if Rudolph has the same magic. Higgins has been straight up dominant in every single game. He gets 8 targets, except for week 1. I brought this up last week. He's up to 19.82 points per game when he has 8 targets or more. 8 targets is the key for T. Higgins. Under 8 targets, he gets 7.2 fantasy points per game. Big difference, big split. A lot of that's because of the rib injury. A lot of that's because of that. Like, come on, you hurt your ribs as a real life person. You're on the bed for 4 weeks. This guy was still playing football. It's hard to extend your arms. It's hard to run. It's hard to catch your breath. These ribs are finally getting healed up, and he is the wide receiver 1 now because we don't know is Chase out for the year.
He's still out this week, so
He's still out this week, so
he's out for the
therefore,
fantasy year.
yeah, so that we have to rely on T. Higgins as the wide receiver 1 there. Now, is Browning going to have a shit show game again? No idea, right? But Higgins still got his, even in a shit show game. I will say this: since week 13, he's a wide receiver 11, 15.7 points per game. He's averaging more points per game in that time frame than A.J. Brown and Chris Olave, and a better points per game than Justin Jefferson. And Justin Jefferson's been pretty good since he's been back. Last week against Kansas City, though, well, Kansas City's awesome, by the way. I just want to say they're 4th against the receivers. They only allow 22.8 points per game to wide receivers. Last week, they shut down Devontae Adams and your boy, Jacoby Myers, only allowing 4 catches, 44 yards on 11 targets to the entire Vegas Raiders receiver room. That being said, I'm still starting Higgins against Kansas City.
Not bad. Oh, it's pretty good analysis. Yeah, I mean, you said a lot of words right there. The biggest thing for me here is that Casey is tough. Even though the Raiders still beat them, they didn't allow an offensive touchdown. They didn't really allow an offensive production. In fact, they allowed 0 completions in the final 3 quarters of the game, which is insane. But that's the Raiders. This is the Bengals. They're still going up against a technical backup QB. Higgins is the wide receiver 1 for the Bengals. Jamar Chase does look like he is probably going to miss out this week and be back next week in week 18 or a wild card round if they make it to the wild card. I think Jake Browning's found his guy. I mean, T. Higgins has had 8 targets the last 2 games, which is pretty nice. He's got touchdowns in both of those games. He is clearly the number 1 guy here. Looking at my notes, I'm gonna have to go Higgins here. Only because KC and Cincinnati, they both play each other really well. KC is not really doing a lot right now, and I think this is going to be a big game for the Bengals to keep their spot in the playoffs alive. And I'm here for the KC meltdown right now. So I'm gonna go with T. Higgins. George Pickens, dude, I cannot stand you right now. When I put you in my roster or in my lineup, you suck. When I take you out of my lineup, you are awful. So to make sure that I am solid with the T. Higgins pick, I'm going to start George Pickens in the league just to make sure he does terrible this week.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. Follow on X and Instagram at OUSFFPOD. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.